had
Coming
to
up next on the Inherited Podcast.
isolate myself. I had to go in a season of isolation where it was just me. I had to focus on myself. And while focusing on myself, I'm building out this brand. I'm building out Royalty Made It. So there was a lot of learning curves. There was a lot of challenges, but we're here now. That's what molded me, time and growth. And like I said, I always had that wisdom over time to know right from wrong. I always knew right from wrong. I just had to learn that when something is going wrong, that don't mean that you also go wrong. Sometimes you need to go right. With the challenges that you face in business or, that you face in life, you got to choose your heart, whether you want to be poor or whether you want to be rich and wealthy. You have to choose your heart. You have to choose what life do you want to live. The future, Chris Doe. And he says, like, a way to be a good designer, you have to ask questions. If you don't ask questions and you just go into the project and just do it, of course you're gonna battle those things with clients not having the vision that they originally had in their mind. So if you're going based off of what's in your mind and they're going based off of what they picture you to create, then of course what the outcome is, it's not gonna align. And so
building a legacy, so watch how you study me. You know it's inherited, ain't no comparison, stacking up guaranteed. Moving so militant, consistent and disciplined. Getting that paper and stacking it up, no time for no chilling, man. Building a legacy, so watch how you study me. You know it's inherited, ain't no comparison, stacking up guaranteed. Moving so militant, consistent and disciplined. Getting that paper and stacking it up, no time for no chilling, man.
Yo, what's good? We are back for the episode of the Inherited Podcast. I'm your host, Sir Gates. And once again, as I always tell y'all, thank y'all for coming back week after week after week for listening or watching. So make sure y'all go to YouTube, hit that notification bell, leave a dope comment, and make sure you download on Apple Podcasts, Spotify Podcasts, Google Podcasts, wherever you get your podcast. Leave a nice 5-star review and also type something up good for me. All right. So look, today's episode, another special guest, my guy Tre'Vion Smith, man. He's also a podcaster. He has, a content agency, Royalty Made It. And what we want to do is just pretty much just dive into his background and see where he came from, how he did what he did, and how he got to where he got to now. So, but how you doing, bro?
for sure, I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm good, man. Just happy to be here, man. A couple of hiccups earlier, but
For sure,
we here
we good.
getting it done, man. We here getting it done, man. So I just want to say I appreciate you for showing up, man, and sitting down with me having this conversation, man.
Nah, for sure. I appreciate you for the invite. Like I said, this whole setup is dope.
Nah, I appreciate you, man. So what I want to do, right, before let me also reinstate, you're also a graphic designer, so we're gonna talk about that
sir.
too. Yeah, they're 100% graphic designer. So what I want to do is what I usually do is I'm gonna ask an icebreaker, okay? So I'm gonna ask you the question first, and you're gonna answer it, and also I'm gonna answer it. So and it's not gonna be nothing crazy. It's it's gonna be on brand with legacy and inheritance. So you're gonna see what it is.
It's not them crazy questions that they be asking in public interviews.
Man, we ain't gonna do none of that. None of that.
All right, let's do it.
Okay, so the question is, how do you bounce back from setbacks and turn them into opportunities?
How do you bounce back from setbacks and turn them into opportunities? Well, any setback or any challenge or obstacle, it's an opportunity for growth. And that's what I look at it as. So how do you bounce back from a setback is you look at what is wrong, you acknowledge the situation, and you move forward from there. So that's how I look at it. You just acknowledge the situation and see how you can do what's different from what you already done. Yeah,
I like that. So for myself, so when I'm faced with setbacks, kind of the same thing. So I like to reverse engineer things. So say if something was to pop up and it's just like it's uncontrollable, hence like something for today. You know what I'm saying? It was an uncontrollable event that I didn't know that was about to happen, and it happened. But just trying to, sometimes can be hard. Just remain calm, sit down and think and strategize and get through it. But just pretty much just assessing what's going on and saying, hey, this setback, what went wrong, and how can I do better next time to prevent this, to let that bad opportunity not turn into another opportunity again. So pretty much doing stuff like that and just reverse engineering issues and situations is how I just take setbacks and just turn them into opportunities. It's always a good chance to learn from when things go wrong. So that's the biggest part of the opportunity that happens, is learning from whatever may have happened, or how did that setback come about, or whether you knew it was coming or not. How can I still learn from it, period, or regardless? So
for sure, because that's what I see. Your plan, you may have one plan, but something else may be playing in the cards that's like sidetracks you. And now you have to know that I can't be overwhelmed by this, because what we're saying, it could sound easy, but you have to mentally acknowledge what's going on, or else you'll check out and start moving off of emotion. You may start to react in a way that you should or may regret later. So it's like you have to really be mindful of what's going on. Like, take an assessment and take some time to yourself to just like realize what is going on. Me, I could have looked at it like, dang, we're late, we're not on time. Or like, you could have looked at it, if I would have showed up late and you're like, he's not on time. But what if something occurred for everything to flow the way it did? So for example, let's say if I was late, there could have been a possibility of maybe God like put in a position for me to be behind, so that way if an accident were to occur on the highway in the path that I'm taking, I may prevent that. Or same thing like on your end with the whole hiccup with the production. It could have been something like, okay, maybe it wasn't time for us to start filming at the time we were supposed to start filming. So it's like everything is intentional, and you just got to take that assessment.
Facts. I love how you said that, dog. Everything you just said is just true. It's just because, of course, in the heat of the moment, emotions gonna flare
for sure.
And it's just like, expect like how you said, you're big on time, and also I am as well. Like when it comes, it's like God, family, and my time. Like I prioritize those three things on a very, very high pedestal. So it's just when it comes to those things, like that's one of the things that gets me flustered easily when it comes to that time, because it's like that's one thing you can't get back. You can sell your time, you can use the time you have in the present, but as far as getting more of it, you can't. It's just impossible. So that's why I value it so much, and it's just I preach a lot when it comes to that. Be on time, man. Do what you gotta do. But again, setbacks happen. But nonetheless, we here, and we all can learn from all these situations. But so what I want to do, right? I love to tell people like your past. Whether it's your traumas or whether it's your successes you've had, how you grew up, all of that has shaped you in some kind of way, your mindset, just who you are, to get you to where you're at today, right? So your past and traumas or whatever it may be could also be someone, your testimony could be their deliverance, or it could be that motivation to say, hey, if Tre'Vion did this, I'm kind of in the same boat, I can do it too. So what I want to do is just take us back to young Trey, right? Just how you grew up, family, friends, just that lifestyle and just stuff you experienced. So just take us on your origin story and give us a breakdown of how that was for you.
Nah, for sure. One challenge that I'm thinking about right now is how it's hard for me to breathe. Because my nose is a little stuffy, so I kind of sound congested, but that just threw me off.
It's all good.
Okay, so what you were saying about just like how I grew up and stuff. My mom is the main factor of my childhood. I didn't really have a father growing up. I had a father figure, which was my stepdad. I had my grandfather. My mom took care of me and my granddad. We lived in his house, and she was just, paying the bills, making a way for the three of us. And, my stepdad came in. He came in when I was roughly 2 to 3 years old. He had my stepbrother as well. My stepbrother is 1 year younger than me. So really it was just me for most of that time. My stepbrother, he would come around here and there. And I just grew up in a way where I was still fine. I still had a village that was able to pour into me. My grandfather, he would talk to me as if I was one of his friends. So I had to grow up faster than the normal person. My brain was developing faster than the average kid my age. I started to think about where I wanted to go in life at a really young age. I started seeing visions of what I want to be. And I remember sitting in the room watching music videos and different things like that and desiring to be in the entertainment industry. And just a lot of different things went on during that time. When I was younger, I did have to, in fact, see my mom getting abused by my biological father. And it's kind of, I dislike bringing up those moments because I understand that people can grow, and to keep bringing that to the forefront of somebody's past is kind of as if, how would you feel if somebody brought up your past every single day? So before, I used to look at it like, oh, I'm angry that my father wasn't in my life. I'm angry that my mom and my father wasn't together and different things like that. But God placed in my life where I didn't have to worry about that. He filled that void for me. He provided me a stepdad, and our relationship isn't perfect, but my stepdad has instilled great things into me. He instilled to have a business mindset and work for myself and different things like that. So I'm just I won't say I had a bad childhood. I won't say that, I never lacked anything. My mom always made sure I was straight. She instilled the nurturing side of me, the characteristics, the respect, the integrity. My stepdad instilled to be a hustler, to be in business and different things like that. My grandmom instilled that wisdom, that character, that patience, all of that stuff, and my grandfather as well. So it's like I just never went without.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not like you had like you say, they say it takes a village to raise a child, but even though your biological father wasn't present for you, it's just good to know that the rest of your family, also your stepdad, because it's like, hey, this is not my real son, so technically I don't have to, there's X, Y, and Z, take care of this and that, but he stepped up as a man and said, hey, this young man is in my life. I'm going to be a man and show him as much as I can and how to get through, and having your grandfather and grandma to instill those values in you, because a lot of men, like you said, as far as your grandma instilled like the compassion and stuff like that. Yeah, we lack that growing up, because coming from kind of a similar background as far as having to grow up early, when you have to grow up at a young age, your mind is just focused on like kind of survival. And also whomever is raising you at that time, they're probably going through the same things, because like, why did we have to grow up so early? Maybe because they were struggling or they were going through whatever they was going through. So they lack teaching us, especially on the male side, it's okay to share your emotions. It's okay to feel. It's okay to hurt. The biggest one, it's okay to cry, not, man, stop crying. I mean, it's like certain situations, I translate that like now as an adult, even though it's not the same, but like stop crying about certain things, just stop complaining about certain stuff. But as far as crying for emotional reasons, like by all means, yes, let that stuff out, because sometimes it makes stuff feel 10 times better. For sure. If you just, when all the emotions just run through you, when you just getting it out and getting it out, especially as a guy, we bottle up so much because we want to be the old tough guy and I'm trying to be hard, this and that. That's how I grew up. But it's just a beautiful thing to see that you were still to get that at a young age and not lack it so much because of the absence of your biological father. So you did have that. But hearing that you say he wasn't there, did that kind of affect you mentally in any kind of way as far as not having him there?
Oh, yeah, for sure. And that's why I know my stepdad had every reason to not want to take care of me or different things like that, because I pushed him away at first when he was in my life and as I'm growing up. As I mentioned, he came in my life when I was very young, at around 2 or 3. And so as I'm growing up, now I'm 6, 7, and I'm realizing you're not my father. My biological father is instilling certain things in me. And, one thing my stepdad, even with one parent putting something in my ear, or, my mom may have certain emotions that she hasn't let go of. One thing my stepfather said is that you never pick sides, because you don't know what went on in that relationship for them to break up. So you can't look at it like, oh, I don't respect this parent because this parent said this, or I don't respect this parent because this parent said this. And so that's another thing. Although there were certain things that, my mom, she never pushed like my father away. She never said like, oh, you can't be in his life or anything like that. It was a choice that he made. And even going back to my stepdad, what I mean by how he had every reason to not want to be a part. I remember when I wrote on a wall, as I was going to my aunt's house on my dad's side, I was going to her house and I wrote on the wall, stay away from my mom, I don't care about you, or something along those lines. Now imagine how that made him feel. Yeah. And I didn't think about that. And that's what I used to do. I was always reactive as a kid, because everybody had every reason to not want to be a part of that village, because I was just wilding out when I was younger.
You was being rebellious,
I was being rebellious, getting in trouble, disrespecting, being like talking back to teachers and stuff like that. When all of these people are trying to help you and groom you into, mold you into a young adult with some common sense. You feel me? So everybody had every right to, not contribute to my life and not pour into me. But that village, they just loved me and they just contribute in every way. My aunts, my uncles, like my cousins, everybody. So it's like, now I am who I am, in my family, they be like, them beatings probably is worth it. The beatings was worth it, because now you have a good head on your shoulders and you know where you're going and stuff. So I'm grateful. And then going to what you said about like, how has that impacted with me, my dad not being involved? It impacted me a lot. It made me have a lot of questions. How do I look like somebody and I don't know who they are? How do I have certain ways, and you know, my aunt saying, "Oh, you act just like your father." I don't have a relationship with him. Now, I won't say he was never present. He was there in certain moments. You know, I would see him every once in a blue moon. I would spend some time with him. Go to my mom would allow me to go to like his girlfriend's house that he's staying with, and I would stay with them. But it was just a lot of things that you and your parents go through. They're still learning as you're growing. So as I'm growing and having all these resentments to 1 minute I'm mad at my father, 1 minute I'm mad at my mom for not allowing me to continue to get hurt by my father, for him being in and out of my life, you know, they're just all trying to figure it out. And that's what I learned. Like, I can't blame anybody for anything that's happened. Like, even now I'm learning that I may say I'm breaking generational curses, but are you financially breaking generational curses, or are you breaking generational curses by rekindling that bond with your father, not continuing to, you say you're not mad at him, but if he texts you right now, are you going to give him immediate response? If he call you right now, are you going to give him an immediate response? He even just texted me the other day and was like, "I love you." And I'm like, I don't hate you. Like, I love you too. And I hope your day is going well. I don't necessarily need him to like take care of me. I'm an adult now, but at the same time, it's like, I still got love for you. That's never gonna change.
That just shows growth, man. And it's just all that to say is like, you gotta extend grace and give grace. I always looked at it growing up. I did have both parents in the household, but like I said, things was rough, right? So we didn't have just the best relationship because we were trying to survive. But as I got older and start seeing, I don't have kids yet, but still just as adult responsibilities, seeing like, man, I can only imagine what they were probably going through at that time, raising 4 kids and this and that and da-da-da. So it was just like, I was just growing up, just living in that moment like, hey, I'm the child. I need this, that. But on that end, it's like, bro, we got to provide for you this, that, plus for this, that person. Then along with whatever traumas they grew up with, their parents still lingering around, whatever they got going on in life lingering around, whatever their financial situation was lingering around. So it was just, as I got older and seeing some of the stripes that I go through, it's like, okay, they may not have been the best, but let me just extend some kind of grace to just say, at least I feel, or at least I don't know, they tried their best. So, and what else can you ask for? Sometimes it's cool, like as children, once you get older, we still want to have those conversations of like, yo, like what happened, like. Because we it's still stuff that's unanswered, but it's just
for sure.
It's bubbling inside sometimes, and some parents, they just don't feel the need to sit and explain that to their kids. Like, you know, when you was young, like this is what really was going on. Like this is what it was. So I just want you to know that, like, we tried or whatnot. So I still feel those conversations are needed from parent to child. But I mean, it's rare to get it, but it's all about growth. But what I want to ask you is, I know you were saying when you was growing up and going through that stuff, you was being like rebellious, getting in trouble and this and that. So how did you find the way or the resources or a person to help you break away from that and just grow from it and just say, and come to that realization of, let me just cut from what I'm doing, from all this craziness I'm doing. Let me just grow up, be the young man I am, and just keep progressing forward. So how did you do that?
For sure. I believe it took time and it took growth, and it took realizing that you're disappointing some of the people in your family who's trying to help you, who's telling you, you don't have to, what are you acting out for? You got everything you need. And that's why, even to what you said about, you know, your parents, they're doing the best they can, and they're providing for this child. And, you know, you can't make it, everything isn't all about you. And a lot of times I would react based on me not getting my way, or things not going in the way that I wanted to. And so it started to hit me over time, because I was acting out from first grade all the way up until at least at least 8th grade. And when I was going into high school, that's when I realized, like, yo, bro, you getting in the real world now. All this stuff, this fighting, because as soon as somebody say something, if you, like, I want to immediately fight. You feel me? Like, I want to immediately throw hands if you say something crazy. And so now I just realized, the older that you get in, you can't just go out in the real world fighting everybody and yelling and acting out, because there's consequences that come with it. Them small consequences in school, they were like a slap on the wrist when you get suspended from school for a couple days, or you got to go to ISS. But over time, I realized, as I'm going into high school, if you fight somebody now, dealing with a bigger like problem. There's
them
something that you're
consequences
going
totally
up
different.
against.
Yeah.
You're going to jail. They're finna send you to jail. You seen that Desi Banks meme where he was like, Lacazette, yo.
Yeah.
Like, that's what I've started to realize is like, you know, you're going to eventually start to have to deal with bigger consequences. And it's not going to be just going to the principal. It's not going to be your mom just trying to protect you and talk to the teachers and let them know, hey, he's going through this, or you know, he don't act like this at home, because I knew better when I went home to not act like that.
Getting
but when
that
I was in
free world,
school,
like, yeah, it's on and popping, baby.
when I was in school, I acted out, and it's different when you go back home and you get in trouble, and your mom, she call you, and I meant the teacher called your mom in front of the class, and your mom on the phone, and she said, wait until you get home.
Oh yeah.
And now you're thinking about that whooping, and I used to try to be slick with it. Like, I used to try to put thermals on or multiple clothes when I got beat. My mom used to be like, take all that off,
Get
strip
off
down.
at the wrong bus
You
stop,
finna-
make the walk longer.
But nah, like, them beatings over time, like, all of that stuff started to mold me. That's why I said, like, them beatings started to be worth it, because after a while, I was like, I'm tired of getting whooped.
Yeah.
You feel me? And, you know, it used to hit, the whoopings used to hit sometimes, because that's when you get, like, the best sleep. And then you wake up, you got your meal ready, and then you go back to
sore,
sleep.
but
You're a
yeah.
little sore, but, like, it's all worth it. But that's what molded me, time and growth. And like I said, I always had that wisdom over time to know right from wrong. I always knew right from wrong. I just had to learn that when something is going wrong, that don't mean that you also go wrong. Sometimes you
Facts.
need to go right. And sometimes you can't just react off of things based off of the current circumstances, as we talked about in the beginning. I used to react soon as something, you know, like soon as I feel as though I'm being attacked or things are getting overwhelming, now I want to react in a way, and that's not in my behavior. And I knew better. But just time and growth, it all molded me into who I am today.
Yeah, it's just beautiful to see. You at least you had that realization of like, all right, enough is enough, man. And the fact that you realize about consequences, and that's a topic that needs to be talked about a lot more today, because just the youth nowadays today, they just don't care about consequences. Like, the stuff I be seeing that they're doing is like, do y'all not feel as if there's nothing to face behind what you're doing? Like either you're gonna go to jail, nowadays you're gonna get killed, you're gonna get beat, whatever it may be. It's like everything you do has either a positive or a negative consequence. But it's like nowadays is just like all the breaking into cars and stuff like that. It's like, bro, somebody gonna kill y'all when they break into the wrong car, and what you gonna get shot or this and that. And but I just feel, even on the judicial side, the consequences need to be raised up. Like they're not gonna stop. They know for a fact, a tap on the wrist, all right, either I'm out in a couple of hours, or because the jails are so full these days, they gonna keep doing it. They're not getting locked up for it. It's just a warning, this and that. But consequences is a key thing you said about all of that, and I'm glad that you, even as a young man, realized that before you even graduated high school and went to college. If you were still on that stuff in college, man,
it would have been over.
Oh yeah, dog. It would have been. You would have had a hell of a ride going to go on that route, man.
And also, I noticed that a lot. I started to realize certain things over time. Majority of my family is women, and so I realized that there's something in all of this that's why I said I always been wiser, where I can see the bigger picture of things. Like, okay, all of your family is women, so how does that impact you in a way? And what I realize is, like, sometimes your emotions may be, women, they act off of emotions sometimes. And so if that's what I grew up around, that's what I seen. And yes, I had different people in my life, like my uncles, my stepdad, my granddad, but the major or the dominating factor was women in my life. And so I realized is that when I'm acting off of emotion, you're mimicking what you see. Yeah. You're mimicking women in your family reacting off of emotion. You're not mimicking the mindset of a man, and how every man, like, I started to notice, like, men don't just react right away. Like, sometimes they take a second to evaluate the situation, and then they give a response. And just like little things like that started to make me realize, like, okay, even like, you know, you start to go through that phase where as a young adult, as a young man, you start to go through that phase where, like, if your mom is involved in your life, I realized like I don't want to be a mama's boy. I love my mom, and I appreciate every little thing that she does for me because I still need her in my life. But at the same time, I have to build those traits of a man to be able to survive on my own and survive for when I have a future family and stuff like that. Yeah,
but that was a great realization you had as far as that environment you was around. You was acting just like it. They usually say we're a part of our environment, but mentally, that was a great mental pickup. Saying, man, I may not be feminine, I may not be this and that, but because it's all I see, it's what I know. So growing up as a kid, we're very impressionable, and all we do is sometimes copycat stuff. Oh, that's how my mom left her keys or whatever. She just lashed out. So hey, if I forget something, I'm about to lash out. So great realization. But what I want to know is, so through all that, right? He was like acting out, being rebellious. You did end up changing when you got into high school to take a different path. So where did the creativity come in that to lead you down the graphic design? Because that's a platonic shift right there.
Yeah.
So how did that birth in you as far as saying, you know what, I want to take this energy and do something else with it. Now I'm going down this route of being what we call nowadays, quote unquote, a creative. So how did that come about for you?
For sure. I feel as though it was always in me. I always saw the bigger picture. As I mentioned earlier, I used to watch music videos. I remember watching Christina Aguilera music video. It was like I Am Beautiful. That's a vivid video that I remember watching, or watching different music videos on 106 in Park and stuff like that. And I would just sit in front of the TV, or as soon as me and my mom come home, I would go and like turn the TV on and watch that. And I would be inspired by like just the host being there, all of that stuff. So I feel as though it always was in my life. As I got into high school and I started to mature, I was trying to figure out what worked. I remember washing cars in high school, and then I remember my original major, my freshman year, and I had got all A's and stuff. Like things really started to change my high school year, and I started to develop, getting into that creative space. So my major was allied health. And I was watching a lot of Snapchat. I was watching a lot of Dr. Miami. I was watching him do the BBLs and stuff, and that's what influenced me to go to Allied Health. But I'm like, bro, you don't want to do no BBLs.
I was about to say, you want to do BBLs, man?
So I was like, all right, nah, I don't want to do that. And especially when I realized how long you got to be in school for. It was like 4+ years. I was like, yeah, nah, that's too much for me. I got ADHD. Like, and my focus be everywhere. And so I just realized it started to bring me back to my roots, because in middle school I was doing cartoons for people. Like I was literally on my phone drawing cartoons of people's faces. Like, and I still have the page up. It was called cartoon.take.off, and I was doing it with a friend. So that entrepreneur spirit was already in me, low key. I wasn't getting paid, but I was doing those edits. And then also I was doing flipograms, creating like the couples flipograms, or creating like solo flipograms with the emoji background. And I was just doing all of those all off my phone. And as I got into high school, as I'm doing allied health, I realized this isn't for me. So in the summertime, I was washing cars, and then my cousin, he was staying with us for the summer. And so I did a prank on him, and I edited it. And I never knew how to edit on, like, I never knew how to edit on iMovie.
Okay.
It was on iMovie. I never knew how to edit, but I just started teaching myself in the moment. And I guess I kind of already knew somewhat of what to do, being that I was doing flipograms and stuff like that, because it's all like the same thing. Those apps, they're all the same. They just have small tweaks and new features and stuff like that. So yeah, I just started to develop that. I did the prank on him, and then I wanted to create a YouTube channel, because I created one when I was younger too, but I never went forward with it. But this time I was like, I really want to start YouTube. So June of 2018, I had went on a cruise with my friends. I vlogged that. When I vlogged that video, I came back from the cruise, edited it, posted it on my Instagram. I say within like a week or so, it had like 500 views. And I was like, I should keep going with this. This is all I need to keep going. So I'm like, bet. June, I released the video, and all through the summer, I'm creating different videos. I'm doing pranks on my mom. I'm cursing in front of her, because I was like 16. So I'm cursing. She running around like trying to hit me with the belt. And then my brother, he was sitting there too. That was like one prank on my channel. And then as now the summer is over, I'm going back to school. Yeah. And I'm still on YouTube. I'm loving it. Like, I'm loving the feedback I'm getting, all of that. And so now I'd go to I forget, Peace on the Streets. That's the name of the show that was happening. Queen Naja.
It was here in
it was
city?
in Delaware.
Oh.
Yeah, because I'm from Jersey. I moved to Delaware when I was 10, and yeah, then when I was 20, which is now, or no, when I was 19, I moved to Atlanta. So
cool,
I could call myself a new DEATL boy.
We got a lot of them on there, man.
Because I done moved so many times. Well, not so many times, but I done moved like in a drastic way.
Yeah.
So many times it's like, dang, you know? And so, yeah, with that, and as I'm going to school, I vlogged the Peace on the Streets. Queen Naja, she's performing. And little did I know this was networking in the sense. That was my first time ever going to her show. This is her first time. You know, she just broke up with she just divorced with her ex-husband and stuff. And now she's with this new guy, Clarence. And so with that video, I'm just vlogging the whole show, not knowing that I'm networking, not knowing that this is gonna be beneficial to my channel in any way. So I film it and I edit it that same night, and I accidentally posted. I fell asleep and it posted, and the video got like 100,000 views. Like it went up within a week, and the numbers was just going. And so I'm like, dang, now my channel has like 10K views, 15K, 20K, and it's growing. And so that's how I got in the creative space, just like finding my way through those little like ins and outs, and then just keep moving forward with it. And I could go into graphics too, like later on.
Yeah, no, you can.
Yeah.
But it, like how you said, 'cause I think I've seen. I don't know if it was just recently or was it when you went on trip. You do work with her now, right?
Yeah.
So that's crazy how you just pulled up to a show to vlog something, and now y'all are working together.
Crazy.
With content and stuff like that. But so as far as when we can't talk about the graphic design, right? So what realm do you prefer when it comes to graphic design as far as is doing? I know you do like YouTube covers and stuff like that,
Yeah.
and whatever. So do you like love to do that more, or flyers, or what's your quote unquote niche into graphic design?
For sure. I love whatever's gonna, you know, put like money on the table. But at the same time, what I love most, I love doing YouTube thumbnails, video edits. I love the process. It'd be a lot, but I love the final production once I see it all together, and I'd be like, yo, that really came out dope. Flyers, it take me a little more time to like do it and really, because I'm very hard on myself, and I'm very intentional about like what do I see for each design. So it takes me a while sometimes to, you know, get a flyer, and that's why I try to talk to my clients and ask them, what is it that you want, so that way we can pair our, you know, visions together and create something dope. So what I love most, like you said, is YouTube thumbnails, video editing, and then just graphics in general over time. Like I just fell in love with it. You
ever had I don't want to call them crazy, like an irate client, one of them stories that you was just like, man, probably made you want to quit doing graphics?
Yes.
What happened?
Most
you
of the
gotta name them, but
I don't gotta name them, but you know, I done had clients where it's just, okay, they make this joke with designers where people will be like, oh yeah, that's dope, but make it pop. That's something that I always it grinds my gears. Like, that's the perfect way to explain it. Just because a client will really say like, oh, this design is dope, but, and it's like, that but can be a million and one things. And so, yeah, I had multiple clients where it done stressed me out, where, you know, I'll do a revision and then they'll say like, oh, I don't like this, change this. And it'll just be like revision after revision. But I learned a way to set that boundary is to upfront give them how many revisions do you have. And that's why even I watch people like The Future, Chris Do, and he says like, a way to be a good designer, you have to ask questions. If you don't ask questions and you just go into the project and just do it, of course you're gonna battle those things with clients not having the vision that they originally had in their mind. So if you're going based off of what's in your mind and they're going based off of what they picture you to create, then of course what the outcome is not gonna align. And so I've had many clients where I just wanted to quit, and I was like, this is my last day.
I feel I come from a background. I started like making shirts, like it was vinyl shirts, and then going to screen printing shirts. I still do it to this day, but no more vinyl. I can't do that no more. But
how come?
I've had, you said how come?
Yeah.
The process of printing with vinyl is too time consuming. Like in the beginning, when I had like maybe 3 or 4 clients, like, okay, cool. Then my orders usually would have been around, let's just get 10 and 12 shirts for this cheerleading squad or this and that, so this and that. But once the clientele started to grow and I had more clients asking for shirts, and then seeing that process, I actually had timed it just to be proficient. I'm like, okay,
crazy.
It takes at least 10 to 12 minutes for that heat press to heat up. And then I got to get the design and got to cut it out on the vinyl cutter, so it cuts it out. That took about another 3 to 4 minutes, and then once that's done, depending on the design and how many colors, print out all those colors, and then got to weed all those colors, and then do that for 12 or 20 shirts. It took hours, so that's when I stepped in the scene as far as like screen print transfers. Like, okay, it takes about 10 minutes for this heat press to heat up, but literally 7 seconds to put the design on. Mm-hmm. All right, so I went that route. And then I got into screen print, and I'm like, okay, it may take an hour to set up, but I can print 500 to 1,000 shirts in another hour with a big enough press. So I'm just like, vinyl, I can't do it no more, man. Yeah. But what made that worse was like those clients. I have somebody just say, so I'll say, so what do you want? Do you already have a design or something in mind? Yeah. No, just do what you want to do, and I will be good. So I'm like, okay, I did what I wanted to do, and stuff you fire. Send it to them. Well, we were thinking. Well, what was the thinking when you said I asked you what did you want? Well, there was no thought then, so I understand how you say it. It's very frustrating. Yeah. Even with the revision, so I didn't get to a point to where like they kind of knew. Well, I designed it to a point where I would try to alleviate having to do so many revisions, but I just kind of tell my customer like, look, one, I was even to a point where I used to create the design. I wasn't even charging for the design. I was just charging for the print. So as I got more and more experience, like, man, they getting a free design. Yeah. They getting 2 or 3 free revisions. Mm-hmm. It's like, So what I did to alleviate it, I just added on top of the price like a design fee into the number. So it's like whether or not I say it or not, my time is being compensated. Like, okay, I know for a fact when they tell me this is for whatever, because I've done this kind of design before, it may take me an hour or 2 hours and then to come up with something simple. But then outside of that, so where I had those clients, it is okay, I'm gonna go to Envato Elements or something. Let me get a quick little template real quick to save time up front to get a lead, send them that template with their stuff in it, and they're like, okay, change this and that. So now it's like, I'm not doing too much work, but it helps out. But I understand what you're going through.
That whole process is a lot. When I was in my freshman year, as I said, I was trying to figure out what I was doing. I was washing cars with being in the Club of Gentlemen. That was an after school, thing that I was doing, and I was washing cars through that. And then even I had bought a heat press machine, saved up some money, bought a heat press machine, the vinyl, and all of that stuff. Never used it. It's still like my parents' crib. Yeah, I never touched it, not once. I was supposed to, but life just took me on a different journey.
It's a blessing. I mean, another comparison story like that. When I first got into screen printing, I wanted to learn it, but just being too eager, I bought a whole home screen print setup. Yeah, spent some good money on it, but I was like, okay, screen print is like a trade to where I can go on YouTube and see how it was done, but when watching, I know for a fact it's more technique than just looking at it. Vinyl and stuff, it's clear as day. Cut, weed, press. But screen printing, you got to worry about holding your squeegee at a 90-degree angle or this angle, the meshes of the screen. So I bought all that stuff and said, let me go here and learn it. So I called the screen print shop and was like, look, man, I'm trying to get into the industry. I can work for you for free. Just teach me what to do. So I went up there and did it. But long story short, the work ethic was so good, I ended up getting a job there.
Crazy. But the opportunity presented itself at the same time.
Yeah, man. So it was a blessing, but also, like we were saying earlier, that taught me slow down a little bit and really sit down and think. And even though you do plan and strategize, take just that extra mile to, like I said, cross your T's and dot your I's and make sure it's like, okay, which step should I do first and this and that. And also just that whole reverse engineering process. Take that step into what you're doing in life. So it was definitely a learning process, dude. So.
Yeah, for sure. Everything is a learning process, and that's why even with the challenges that you face in business or that you face in life, you got to choose your heart, whether you want to be poor or whether you want to be rich and wealthy. You have to choose your heart. You have to choose what life do you want to live. Do you want to work a 9 to 5 and work for somebody else and build their vision up, or do you want to work for yourself and go through those trials and make those errors, make those mistakes, and learn over time, this is what I want to do, and I'm gonna have to go through those challenges. I'm gonna have to go through the rough patches in order to get where I want to. It's not gonna be easy.
Not at all, right? The journey thus far, I'm still on it, but it's been so many road bumps and just obstacles in the way. But it's just one thing, just having a resilient mindset, just knowing like is this what you really want? If you can see everybody who made it, of course, online, you do just see majority of the glitz and glam. But some of the most authentic people, they done been through the mud with it. Not saying they had to come from the mud, but it's starting a business.
They done been through the mud.
It's not easy, bro. You got to deal with, if you are in a service-based business, you got to deal with these clients and clientele. And it's not, you're not just the only say so. And that's why I kind of stepped back. I got tired of it, man. Just dealing with, not saying so much dealing with people, but one come with ego. People think they this and that just because you just like, nah, bro. Step back from that. But like I said, it's all a process. But so from stepping into the creative life, like I said, I knew you said it was always in you, and then doing like graphic design and the pranks and content creation. So I know this is a recent, but so and jumping into podcasting, how was that journey for you, and how has it been so far?
So podcasting, I always say that I don't like to take on stuff that I know I'm not gonna fully commit to. So with this podcast, it took me time to really develop whether or not this was something that I wanted to do. And I can be impulsive sometimes and just jump into stuff, but then other times I could take a step back and reflect and see, is this something that I really want to do? And so in December of 2022, I had mentioned to David Shands, he's somebody that I work with, he's mentored me in some ways, and he definitely put that, just being able to see everything that he does as a podcaster, because that's what he's branded himself as, just a podcaster. He is a speaker and different things like that, but what he really does is podcasting. And so when he took me to Miami and different things like that and having podcast masterminds and stuff, I was able to see, this is dope. You could be able to communicate in a way that you never did before, because long form content, every reel and stuff like that, you got to get it in under a certain amount of seconds. You got to do it in 30 seconds, 15 seconds, or a minute, different things like that. And so with the podcast, I had mentioned to Dave in 2022, and this is after going through years of depression and stuff, but I had mentioned to him that I wanted to start a podcast, and also I was about to move to Atlanta. I had graduated in 2021. I was about to move to Atlanta, so I had mentioned it to him, moved out to Atlanta January 29th of 2023. And then once I did that, everything just started flowing. And he just said, Yanni, she was on the team as well, because I was a part of the Social Proof team. Well, I am a part of the Social Proof team. Yanni, she was a part of the Social Proof team. And Jada, she just was coming to the episode recording. So she was just pulling up. And so he just basically said, y'all get together and we about to start this podcast. And we just started it. And the crazy thing is, none of us really had a tight relationship before we met. I knew of Jada. I spoke to her a few times. I knew of Yanni being on the team. We had just started building a relationship and stuff, but none of us never had a relationship. We didn't really know each other like that. So imagine being in front of a camera with two other different strangers, including Zell would be a third person, 3 strangers, and you got to be vulnerable. You got to express yourself in a way that you never did before in front of those strangers, and also at the same time build a relationship. So what
do you think the hardest part was for you, as far as like getting over all that stuff?
The hardest part for the podcast?
Well, for you, just like you say, it was all these variables was just thrown at you and you agreed to do it. So what was the hardest part?
The hardest part was balance. And you can't never find balance. It's never going to be one straight line. It's like something's going to flow over here, something's going to flow to the left. And so what I realized is, dang, I got to communicate to my clients what's my schedule, when I'm filming a podcast, or when we're having a podcast event, when we're going to speak with Dave and different things like that. So balance was the hardest thing for me, being able to juggle having a creative agency where I work with all of these big content creators, and then trying to build yourself up as well, because during that time when I started YouTube and stuff and everything was going high, there definitely was a point where everything went downhill, and I had to isolate myself. I had to go in a season of isolation where it was just me. I had to focus on myself, and while focusing on myself, I'm building out this brand. I'm building
Yeah.
out Royalty Made It. So there was a lot of learning curves. There was a lot of challenges, but we're here now.
Right, man. And applaud to y'all. Y'all flowers again. Like I told Zell, and Yanni, like y'all doing some big things, right? And for y'all to be at the age you guys are, it's a blessing to see that the content y'all putting out isn't in the mix of all the same crap we hear every day over and over and over. Like it's a breath of fresh air, even though it's a lane to where most people in culture would deem like nobody want to hear this and that, but it's needed. Somebody, y'all words are resting on somebody's heart and ears for sure. And that's as long as it's 1, 2, 1,000, 10,000, 20,000. That's all that matters. Like all this other mumbo jumbo, man, it's just getting old and saturated. Like how many times we gonna have the same conversations about the same things? Like how come we can't bring some kind of value to our communities, one to the black community, without having to be division between man and woman or division between black and white or this and that? It's just like, where's the positive content? Where's the forward thinking content? And then kudos to y'all for being a part of that society to push out some of that content, man. So take all them flowers back with y'all back to the squad, man. Nah, for sure, man. So on a mental health tip, right? Now that you're older, how does Trey handle his mental health? Like, what does it look like for you to, like you just mentioned, you do have some, a time you was going through depression and stuff like that. So how did you get out of it? But what is your steps for you today as far as how do you take care of yourself mentally? Because if you're not right up here, everything else can just go downhill, right? You can't give someone at least 90 or 100% if you're not at 100% yourself, right? So how do you deal with mental issues, not issues, but just mental things as far as whether it's meditation, going on long walks, prayers, or what does that look like for you?
Yeah, for sure. So how do I deal with it? I deal with it by, for one, as you mentioned, prayer. I've been getting really close to God and realizing that anytime that I feel alone, I'm not alone.
Thanks.
And I used to have questions of like, how's God here? How God is, contributing to this person, but also contributing to me. But then having people like Yanni, having people like Jada let me know like he's omnipresent and he's able to be there for you and be there for me at the same time. And he knows your worries. And so you have to bring that onto him. And one thing I realized is once you pray about something, you have to put it in his hands.
Facts.
And the place where you trust, the place where you worry the most is where you trust him the least. And that's what I learned off of Megan Ashley's podcast. And that hit me because I was like, yo, sometimes I'll pray and I'm really just still worrying about what I just prayed about. If you already prayed about it, why are you still worrying about it? So that's what I learned, is to pray, and then also just taking my time to reflect on Trey. How am I feeling in a moment? What's going on? As entrepreneurs, we move around a lot. We gotta be here, gotta be there. But sometimes you need to take that moment to just chill and relax. Because one thing I realized, and a lesson that I had to keep learning over and over, where I almost had to bang my head through the wall to get it, is I used to get burnt out a lot during those times of being depressed and stuff while still building Royalty Made It. And I just realized, like, I can't contribute to every client being in a service-based business. I can't contribute to all of y'all and be left with nothing, because y'all gonna still move on. And if I get burnt out, if I don't do what's right, if I don't, be integral about my business, y'all gonna move on to the next person, and I'm gonna be washed up and dried out, and they're not gonna look back. If God forbid, if I were to pass today, being stressed out and stuff like that, again, they're going to move on to the next person and not look back or think twice about it. So I just realized that I got to put me first, and I got to love myself enough to not sacrifice my own well-being. And I have to realize that I can't sacrifice my mental health to contribute to somebody else and feed them and pour into them. But now I'm over here burnt out, and now I'm dealing with things. And, I really watch people and see what I can learn from them. I watch a lot of podcasts. I watch a lot of successful people to see, like, what can I take from them? What is it that they learned? I learned that a lot of successful people, those that believe in Jesus Christ, they pray to God for their vision and their journey. And also I learned from, like, Angie Martinez. She's like I like her podcast. I like everything that she does. And she was on this episode with Coyle Ray, and she was saying you got to find your hobby. And so I still got to find my hobby. I feel as though I found one of them, which is going to the gym. And so when I go to the gym, I don't listen to no music. I just put my phone down and lock in for those 30 minutes to an hour. And I don't listen to music because, like I said, I get distracted quickly. And if I hear a song and it's not the song I want to play, now I want to stop and find the song that I want to play. So it's like, no, put that phone down for 30 minutes to an hour and just lock in with yourself. So that's like one of my hobbies. And then even just taking time to just like write and journal. That's something that Yanni put me onto, is like when you journal, it's a way to dump out all of your thoughts and declutter it. And that's what I learned, is like, this is helping me. And I started January 9th, and I've been doing that ever since, just journaling, writing down exactly how I feel. Even if it's a one-word thing, how you feeling today? Or write down your mood and just write it down, so that way you know who you are and you don't lose yourself in all of everything that's going on. You still are in tune with yourself. So that's what I realized, is to pray about it, take time to indulge in your hobbies and your friends, still have that lifestyle where you are communicating and socializing with people, and then also just stay in tune with yourself. Write down how you feel, talk to yourself, and different things like that.
That's facts. And I wonder, now I'll just, like, I open up for me, like when you said, Angie said, like, find your hobby.
Yeah.
I used to be telling myself, you know, like, my hobby is the work. Like, I love to work. So, yeah, and it's not, bro. It's not.
I used to do the same thing. And that's why I was getting burnt out.
Yeah. Like, I used to stress myself. Then it was days and nights to where literally I'd be up working, and unbeknownst, it's 12 o'clock midnight, or now it's 2 or 3 in the morning. Then when I go to sleep, doing that for 3 or 4 days in a row, I'll wake up sometimes, be like, nah, today's Tuesday. I'm like, nah, bro, it's definitely Wednesday. I'm like, man, I'm sitting here working too much. And then also doing that for myself. I'm so big-hearted and a people person. I'll be doing that for myself while trying to satisfy and help other people at the same time. Just, I know a lot of stuff, so people will come to me for a lot of things. So it's just like, okay, I'm sitting trying to work on my business, grow my brand, this and that, but phone ring, hey man, all right, I got you. Just because of who I am, but I had to learn, like, look, man, you got to prioritize, like I say, prioritize me first. Like, put yourself first in all you do, and stay on that path of, if I'm not at 100%, I can't give anybody else anything. If my glass is empty, what am I going to pour into yours? So finding a balance of that is still a work in progress. Because like I stopped listening to music a while ago. Like, I come from a background of making music, but it was just, my mindset was, with time, we only got so much time, right? So if I'm listening to all these songs that's not progressing me in no way, when I could, on the other hand, put on a podcast or an audio book. What's more important to me in my growth? That's when my mindset had just switched. Like, all right, you done heard all the songs you could hear over time, and we just found ourselves, we hear it once, but now, boom, it's on the playlist. You just listen to it over and over and over. But each time you hear it, you're not learning nothing. So why not? Like, when I'm in the car, it feel bad if it does ride with me, but you're not gonna hear no music in my car unless it may be praise and worship or something like that. Or if it's just we going somewhere, I just want to just catch a quick little vibe. Cool, but that's very, very, very rare. Other than that, like nowadays, I'm listening to podcasts or an ebook, because it's like I spend so much time in the car as an entrepreneur, picking up inventory. It's like, man, before you know it, you done been in the car for a whole hour for a round trip. That's a whole podcast episode or a whole 2 to 3 chapters of an audio book. So what's my excuse? So I had to cut out music and just get just pretty much prioritize what I want for myself and in life. So it's a struggle, but I'm still trying to learn how to find a hobby. I love other things. I love to go fishing and stuff like that. But actually going to make time to do it, it's just I'm trying to, like you say, I want to be the first millionaire in my family. Like, all that stuff, it trumps it so much sometimes. It's hard, man. But it's a progress.
Even to, like, what you said about, because I would do the same thing. Like, people want to ask me, oh, how do you edit this? How do you edit that? The same thing that I did going to YouTube and learning, you could do the same thing. I literally have, people, friends and family who will say, like, oh, I just can't learn it. Bro, learn. Like, all you have to do is take the time. Like you said, what things can you cut out in your life that is distracting you so that you could take that time to learn? When I didn't know how to do graphics when I first started. I literally had to watch YouTube videos, and I'm not gonna say I had to watch YouTube videos the whole way part of my journey, because a lot of stuff I just, like, it was a trial and error and like repeating over time. Like, I remember putting a template of somebody else's design and trying to mimic exactly that. So I won't say I was watching YouTube a lot, but I really just watched YouTube to learn the basics of what to do, and I just went from there. And then even to what you said about people coming to you and asking you, can you be here, can you do this? I still sometimes struggle with overcompensating and saying yes to this person and being here for this person and not being, excluding what I need to do for myself in order to get something else done for somebody. And now, again, they're fulfilled, but now I'm the one that's stagnant and procrastinated on my goals. So that was like just a never ending factor almost, that it felt like, dang, when is this gonna end? It starts and ends with you. You're like the common denominator in every situation. So if something isn't going right in your life, you have to check that and be self-aware and realize, what is going wrong? What am I doing? Everybody else, they can be doing stuff in your life. They can be playing a factor, but at the end of the day, it's all about what you allow into your life. And so, yeah, you just go about it and continue. Everything is like a solution. Like there's always a solution to something. That's what I learned, is to be solution based rather than just sitting in pity and waiting for like somebody to help me.
Facts. But that's the I guess the kind of the whole synopsis of like the rich dad poor dad. Well, it's like that mindset of, instead of, oh, I can't do this, change those words to, how can I do this? Like, how can I get this done, versus being that. So a solution-based mindset is very somewhat key. But everything you said, Trey, is like, it's valuable, right? And that's the main thing I want to do on this platform, to bring value to somebody's life. And also, like, I love to bring on guests who's in just different generations of life to where it can connect, because you never know who may be watching and who may be listening to X, Y, and Z. So, but having said that, there may be a young Trey sitting at home, or a female, male, whatever, who says, hey, I want to start my own graphic design business, or I want to be a podcaster, I want to do everything I see him doing. So if you could sit them down and y'all had a one-on-one and you was a mentor, right, what would you tell the people as far as how to either get them motivated or to get them to be into the right mindset to say, you know what, this is what you're going to do, get up and go do it and start. So what would you tell them?
For sure. I know that motivation is going to die out over time. And so you got to be dedicated. You got to be committed to the dream. Some things you may have a different path of how it looks, but it may not be the exact path that you'll take. I thought I was going to be heat pressing shirts and stuff. I thought I was going to be doing BBLs and doing breast reductions and all this stuff. But that wasn't the path that God wanted me to go down. And so I had to realize that whatever success looks like for me, it's not going to go exactly how I picture it. Some of the visions in your life, it's a preview to the next chapter of your life, but sometimes the road in the vehicle that's going to get you there is not going to look the same. And so motivation, like I said, is going to die out. You got to stay dedicated. You got to be committed. You got to get around people that believes in your vision, that, you can't tell everybody, oh, this is what I'm doing, because some people have limited mindsets. So some people aren't going to be able to see what you see, and the vision isn't for them. And that's why you have to learn that you have to validate yourself. Don't allow everybody else to validate what you see. You may be the pioneer in something that's hasn't been done before. You may be the pioneer to inspire a nation, inspire a tribe. That's what I aspire to do, inspire a nation and a tribe. And so it may look different for you. It may be a different trial from the next person's journey, but success leave clues also is what I realized. And so you have to, if somebody who hasn't done something that you haven't, if somebody hasn't done something and they're giving you advice on what to do, you can't really take the advice from them because they haven't done it. So how are you going to tell me how to run a business and you're still working at your job? How are you going to tell me how to raise my kids or how to have a marriage and you've never been married, you never had kids? So it's like, leave the clues and follow the clues from successful people and put it and frame it into the way that you want for your life. Take certain pieces of the puzzle and apply it to your puzzle, apply it to your journey, and keep going from there. And just never stop. Like, every opportunity that you have to keep going is in front of you every single day when you wake up, and God gives you another 24 hours to live. And when you have that chance to live and move and do what you need to do, you have to keep going, because that one day that you decide to quit, you may have been right there to succeed in whatever way that you desire, or whatever exactly that was divine and purpose on your life. And so, yeah, just continue to thrive. Like, you can't give up. As long as you got breath in your lungs, keep going for real. Like, that's the most simplest way to put it.
Man, that's facts. And the last thing you said was key, and I live by this every day. Every day my eyes open up is letting me know God blew his breath into my lungs, was meaning I'm not done with you, young man. Get up, stay and walking in your purpose, and I'm giving you yet another day to either get it right, make it right, or keep going. So with you, gave them some valuable advice just then, man.
For sure.
I appreciate you, bro.
Thank you.
For real.
Not for real, because it's real. Like, we all go through life, and we just, you know, some people may look at life as, why is this happening to me? It's happening to you for a reason. Like, you're here for a reason, and you can't just continue to victimize yourself. And I used to do that a lot. And yeah, you just got to really like take it day by day.
That's all you
I literally wanted to
bro.
move out April 1st, and that was an impulsive thought, but I was realizing like, okay, you still overcompensating for some things, and you still have to get some things done for yourself, because moving out isn't easy. It's so many things that go with it. And so I just realized, like, take it day by day. Stop trying to rush. It's going to happen when it happens.
There you go.
That time, when that time comes, you're going to get exactly what are in the plans for you. Not what you desire. You're going to get provided what you need.
And God gonna make sure you're prepared.
For sure. And God is a provider. So like,
that right,
he's going to provide everything that you need.
A resource, not a resource.
For
Look,
sure.
Man, that was good. So real quick, so what's next for Trey Royalty Made It? And also let them know just all services you provide too, just in case. I don't know if I asked you that earlier.
For sure. So what's next for me is to just keep going and to continue to build out my brand. I want to be like Tyler Perry Studios. I want to be like Tiana Taylor Productions. So I want to build an agency where we are doing that, where, you know, I'm having a team of editors. I'm having a team of people who can produce a full-on video or you know, provide YouTube thumbnails. Like, I don't know if you've seen like Mr. Beast, like, and heard how his system is, how he got a whole team. That's what I desire to do, is like build out a team and like an agency where they provide that to content creators. So that's what's next for me, is to continue to follow and stay on course with that dream. For the podcast, I desire to inspire young adults each time that I step on the mic and I speak, and that we continue to thrive individually and as one, because we still, as a podcast, like with the podcast, we can move forward and we could succeed all together and individually, but it's based upon us continuing to show up in that way each and every single day, and continue to put that effort into the podcast and not get sidetracked by all of the distractions that go on. And then as far as you said, like, what's the services that I provide? Right now, we are providing YouTube thumbnails, where you get, if you have a podcast, you get the YouTube thumbnail, and then you get the audio thumbnail as well. And, you know, for content creators who create vlogs and entertainment, you could get video edits, you could get YouTube thumbnails, you could get flyers for events. That's what anything, podcasters, entrepreneurs, just full-on content creators, you get event branding, all of that stuff that you get, YouTube thumbnails, video, event branding, and that comes with flyers and all of that. So yeah, Royalty Made It. We're going to keep growing pains. We're going to keep growing through our pain. You feel me?
Just get it, man. Pop quiz. Top 3 people you want to work with before you get out of here.
Ooh.
If it could be any 3.
Top 3?
Yeah, well, not even top. Just still 3 people like, man, I got to work with these people, man. Who are they?
Mr. Beast, I feel as though I could learn so much from him. Ooh, that just put me in a hot seat. Word. Okay, Mr. Beast. I'm trying to think. Casey Sinet. Casey Neistat. I think that's his name. He's another big content creator. Okay. He's Caucasian, but I want to be able to be diverse. You know, my community, my culture. I love our people, and so like, they're the ones who built my brand up. Facts. But I also want to see what else can we learn, so that way we're not limited, and I could bring those resources back to, you know, our field. So people like that, and yeah, like Kai Sinet would be funny. I know you said 3, but Funny Marco, he would be fire too.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
All right, so I like those. But again, man, Trey, I want to thank you for coming out. We had a great conversation. Like I say, it was very valuable, full of gems. Anybody who listened to this or watch it, they're going to get something from it, whether it's 1 minute of it, 2 minutes, or the whole time we spoke. So again, thank you for that and everything you're doing. I'm gonna congratulate you what you got going on in your business. So here's more flowers for you personally. Take them home, put them in the vase with some water, man. But you know, it was a great episode, man. I want to appreciate you, dog, for coming out and showing up, bro.
Nah, for sure. Thank you. I appreciate you, and you have a great rest of your day. May the podcast continue to keep growing, and you know, you continue to thrive in every way that you desire and what God has planned for you as well. So keep doing
sir.
your thing.
Yes, sir. Thank you. And again, you guys, thank y'all for coming back, watch another episode of Inherited Podcast. You can find this podcast on YouTube on Inherited Podcast. Make sure you follow us on Instagram at NHERITB Podcast. Follow me on IG at SirGatesBC, and download this on Apple Podcasts, Spotify Podcasts, Google Podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts. And y'all have a great day. Until next time, we will see y'all, man.
Let's get it.
Yeah, man. That's a good one.
Let's go. Appreciate you, bro.
Yeah.